Hello everyone. This is lecture 2 by Dr. Supriya Singh, Assistant Professor in the Department of English, Vasant Kanya Mahavidyalaya. This lecture, titled Deconstruction Critiques Structuralism, would be discussing about the idea that has been laid by Ferdinand de Saussure regarding structuralism. We would discuss how his theory of structuralism is based upon three basic proponents, where he tells that language is arbitrary, language is based upon differences, and language is systematic. Discussing these three assumptions by Ferdinand de Saussure, we will also be discussing the idea that he has propagated regarding sign. How, according to Ferdinand de Saussure, sign is equal to signifier plus signified, or we can say that sign is equal to the combination of signifier and signified, where signified naturally evokes when we utter or when we see a written signifier, or this way we come to the idea of sign. Now, discussing this is quite necessary for our understanding of deconstruction, because it is the theory of structuralism upon which Derrida works in order to dismantle it, or in order to build his idea of deconstruction. So this way we are starting with the lecture of week 1, lecture 2. Derrida's deconstruction basically is built upon, as I have told you right now, the foundation that has been laid by Ferdinand de Saussure, particularly his focus on language system. But Derrida comes up to challenge the core assumptions that has been laid out by Saussure. So we have to understand the assumptions that has been laid by Saussure and how Derrida find certain loopholes and extended this idea. Now, structuralism basically centers on the idea that every system is not random. Rather, it is shaped by some underlying structure or pattern. That is, every system has a structure. It functions upon the underlying pattern upon which this system is built. Now, deconstruction comes up to critique the structuralist perception of language as a fixed or stable system. According to deconstruction, there is not such fixed or stable underlying structure or pattern. Working upon language system, when Saussure calls it a scientific study of language, he considers that language system, like other system, has a set of structure upon which it functions. Now, Ferdinand de Saussure is a founder of semiotics who proposed that language system is made up of signs, where meaning is derived from the relationship between the signifier and the signified. Language system, according to Saussure, is made up of signs, where sign is a combination of signifier and signified. Now, what is signified? Signified is the concept or the meaning that gets evoked or represented by the signifier, where signifier is basically the physical form of the sign, like a word, an image, or a sound. So as soon as we go with the image of something, we create some abstract concept in our mind. As soon as we see a word, we get the meaning of it into our mind. And as soon as we utter a sound or we listen something, the idea or the concept related to it gets or comes abstractly in our mind. For example, if we have three words A, C, and T, and we are arranging it in a particular sequence, that is C, A, T, then it has a meaning. And as soon as we see the word or the systematic arrangement of the word ACT in the form of CAT, the meaning or the idea, the concept of cat soon comes in our mind. But if we arrange it like TCA, nothing would come in our mind. So, this way we can understand that when there is a meaningful arrangement of letters, then only we can call it a signifier, and a related signified gets evoked in our mind. Saussure also argued that language is arbitrary and that there is no inherent or natural connection between a signifier and its signified. So, when we are talking of the three assumptions of Saussure, the very first assumption is this, that the language is arbitrary. Arbitrary means accidental. And if language system is arbitrary or accidental, now with this, Saussure wants to convey the idea that there is no inherent or natural connection between a signifier and its signified, between a word and its meaning. For example, if we see a tree, a letter written as T and then R, E, E. So this way, this arrangement of letters is TREE, tree. And as soon as we see this or someone utters this, the image or the concept of tree gets evoked in our mind. But otherwise, there is no image coming in our mind with ETR or some absurd sort of arrangement. Now, this means that when we have a systematic arrangement of letters, then only a meaning or a concept gets evoked in our mind. Now, how with a signifier or a word or a systematic arrangement, a meaning or a concept gets evoked? It is, according to Saussure, prescribed through convention and usage. So, according to him, it is only through prescribed convention and usage that we are in a habit to attach a signified to a signifier. If a signifier is the proper arrangement of letters, then a signified gets evoked. Now, this way, we see that there is an arbitrary relationship, but though this relationship is arbitrary, yet for Saussure, language derives its meaning through convention. So, convention also plays a significant role here, and it is to be noticed that Derrida captured this concept of convention and he worked upon it, and perhaps Roland Barthes also played a significant role in order to develop or in order to help Derrida developing his idea that how convention is playing a significant role. It means that there is something political, that there is something to be noticed. Now, this way, Derrida posits that the relationship between the two, that is, the signifier and the signified, is not fixed. When we are talking of convention, it means that it is only through convention that we go on fixing it. However, it is not fixed. Derrida emphasizes that understanding a sign requires context and interpretation. He argues that structuralism fails to account for the inherent instability and fluidity of meaning in language. Now, he goes on to critique Saussurean assumption here. It critiques another assumption that meaning is derived through differential relationship of the linguistic sign. Now Derrida is further making an attempt to critique another Saussurean assumption that meaning is derived through the differential relationship of the linguistic sign. Till now, we find how Derrida worked upon the relationship between the signifier and the signified. That is, it was told by Saussure that there is arbitrary relationship between the signifier and the signified. However, there is no natural or inherent connection in it. But Derrida comes up with the idea that if there is no inherent connection between the signifier and the signified, there is no inherent or natural connectivity between them, it means that they are not fixed. It is not that a signified is definitely going to indicate towards a signified which is fixed. So this way, Saussure himself opens up the loopholes, the idea that since there is no fixity, there is no natural connection, there is no inherent connection between signifier and signified, then Derrida comes up to say that if there is no inherent connection, it means that a signifier is not responsible for a fixed signified, rather it is opening up various arena in order to explore. Now, the next assumption about which he is talking is that meaning is derived through the differential relationship of the linguistic sign. Derrida critiques this Saussurean notion, saying that no word has its meaning in isolation. Meaning of a word can be carved out only through its differences from a contrasting word. Now, for example, we have a word man, and in order to understand man completely, we have to look for a contrasting similar opposite term, that is women. Now, in order to understand man, we have to see that what woman is not is man. For instance, if one has no entry in English language, and you'll have to define that particular person what man is. For that, naturally, you will have to take recourse to woman in order to completely define man, because otherwise you won't be able to give a complete definition, because there is no actual definition of a man. Rather, we would try to locate man with the help of the neighboring contrasting words or a similar opposite term, that is woman. So the meaning of man is not isolatedly understood, but in order to understand it properly, we'll have to take recourse to a similar contrasting term, that is a woman. In a similar way, if we have to understand the meaning of light, it is or it cannot be understood without dark. So one has to understand the idea of dark also in order to contrast it and understand the meaning of light. Similarly, for a reason, we'll have to understand emotion. Now, apart from this, we can also see that at initial level, what happens when the education system gets started with students at very initial level, we see that students are taught similar terms like cap, cat, can. Why they are taught such similar words starting with, for instance, if they are starting with any letter, I am considering this only. So C-A-N can, C-A-T cat, and C-A-R car. So this way we are using a similar sort of word with similar sort of meaning with only a little difference, so that students would be able to understand the meaning of this different alphabet or the meaning of, or the sign, or the indication of how when a sound gets differ, how the meaning changes. For example, car, and as soon as we replace r with n, it is going to become can with a different meaning. And if we are replacing n by t, naturally it is going to give a very different meaning. So this way, in order to understand the whole language system, we'll have to uh, inculcate an idea of difference, because meaning can be understood on the basis of differences. Language system can be understood on the basis of differences. Nothing has a complete meaning, but it can be understood on the basis of differences. So this is the notion given by Saussure. Now, apart from this, Saussure also says that meaning is based on differences. So we use it in different um, context. And Derrida then comes out to posit that because no sign in the chain leads to a definitive meaning, language allows for an indefinite play of meanings. Now, this way we see that uh, language encourages dynamic interpretations and challenges the notion of a singular authoritative message. Now, what does it mean? That Derrida says that language, according to Ferdinand de Saussure, is a system where we are not only dependent upon a term in order to understand the meaning, rather, meaning is also dependent upon the other elements in the organizational chain. So, if we are dependent upon the other elements on the organizational chain, then it means that we are not in a position to say that a particular word has a particular meaning, because the meaning is not dependent upon the signifier. There is no inherent connection. A signifier is not going to give a particular signified. So there is a chaos. There may be a situation of crisis of meaning. Now, apart from this, we also see that in the organizational chain, there are so many number of words, and they themselves do not have a fixed meaning. Now, apart from this, it is also dependent upon the meaning of a particular sign is also dependent upon the neighboring words in the organizational chain. So if we are going to change the different other words in the organizational chain, the meaning of that particular sign is going to be different. So this way, meaning itself comes into question according to Derrida, because it does not have a fixed signified. Apart from that, it is also dependent upon the other words in the organizational chain. And if the other words in the organizational chain are going to be different, we are going to change them, the meaning of this particular sign would change. So how it is a interesting idea developed and noticed by Jacques Derrida, where he gives us a very different sort of arena to open up the idea that how play of sign is possible in language system. There is no fixity, there is only instability in language system. And this way he opens up and encourages dynamic interpretation, and he challenges the notion of a singular or authoritative meaning. He deconstructs the idea of meaning that is based on differential relation, saying that since no sign in the chain leads to a definite meaning, hence the whole language system allows an indefinite play of meaning. And since no sign in the chain of signifier has a definite meaning, rather they are dependent upon all other signs for meaning, which again do not have meaning of their own, and all of them are dependent upon all other. Therefore, language system allows an indefinite play of meaning. This way, he comes to say that rather than being present in one sign, meaning is this way disseminated through a network of signs, creating a dispersed understanding. This process highlights the complexity of language and the multiplicity of interpretations that arise from it. And this way, it opens up the idea that how meanings are endless and we cannot stop ourselves to just one meaning that is fixed. Now, coming to the next idea, we can say that since meaning in language arises through differences between signs, words do not have meaning in isolation but only in relation to other words. This meaning is never present in one sign alone, rather, it is disseminated or dispersed. We can only carve it according to our understanding of various signs in the organizational chain. Now, when it comes to our understanding, when it comes to the notion of that an individual can carve meaning according to his understanding, according to his or her understanding of various signs in the organizational chain, naturally it is very much open ended. Naturally, it is very much contextual. So, this way we can say that meaning is contextual. The meaning of a sign thus changes over time as past meaning leaves its traces upon the word while the future meaning haunts. For instance, we can take an example of honest. So, when we are talking of that someone is honest, we see that it has a different meaning in past where honesty was considered to be the best policy, but when we are talking of honest in the contemporary time, we are saying that somebody is very honest, somewhat uh, less alert kind of person we are getting. So the meaning is changing with time and it also changes with space. For instance, boldness in some other country is going to be different, and in other country, the meaning of that a woman is quite bold can be interpreted differently because the level of boldness is going to be different in different countries. So this way we see that meaning is based upon time, meaning is based upon space, and this way meaning is contextual. Now it changes with context, and we have, or I can give you a very good example regarding this, that when we say green, GREEN, now green without any words or neighboring words around it, it means that we can consider it as a color. So green means a color, it is a color. And when we are talking of or reading this term under the chapter revolution, naturally it is not a color, rather we are talking of green revolution related to floras. Now when we are talking of green in some other sense, that is um, traffic system, then we see that green means go. So if we are looking at similar word in different spaces, in different contexts, its meaning gets changed. It is a color, it is under revolution we are seeing it differently, we are interpreting it differently, and we are coming, when we are coming to the traffic signal, we find that it has a very different meaning, that is go. So this way meaning is based upon context, meaning is contextual. Now this way we can never reach to a final meaning, and it is based upon the meaning is, you can say, dependent upon the various areas, various ideas that is related to a particular signifier. Meaning is also based upon the neighboring words, neighboring elements in the organizational chain. Meaning is also dependent upon the context. Meaning is also dependent upon the time and space. So, this way, meaning is various, meaning is varied, meaning is open. There is endless play of meaning that is possible. So, we are never reaching to a final meaning. There is no final meaning or no end signified. Meaning is also never fully present in any given word. It is always deferred, postponed to future interpretations, and no word has a fixed or absolute meaning. It gains meaning in an ongoing chain of references to other words. It is never present in sign, rather, a sign refers to another sign, and the process never ends. Now, here we come up to the term of Derrida called difference, which refers to the process where meaning is produced through differences as well as it differs endlessly instead of being inherent or fixed. Now, this idea of difference, we can say, is combination of difference and deference. Difference, you know the meaning of how something gets different from other when we are comparing, and differs means shifts. So meaning is basically based upon differences as well as differences. It differs as well as it differs. So difference is a term that has been coined by Derrida, where we see that meaning is a combination of differences and differences. So coining or combining the two words, he coins the term difference. Now, the term difference can be understood in a much better way when we see that meaning can be grasped only on the basis of differences, but this temporary meaning always differs or gets shifts. Now, for example, we see a word or we look for a word in the dictionary. For example, there is a word called mean, MEAN. If we look into dictionary for this particular word, we can have several meanings, 6 or 7 meanings, or we cannot say that they are meanings. Rather, we can say that for this particular sign mean, we will be having 6 or 7 other signs. Why I am using the term sign instead of meaning? Because they are not meaning. We cannot confirm that this particular word is a meaning to this word. Rather, they are different signs. They can act differently. They can be used in different context, and they can have sometimes nothing to do with the sign about which we are talking. For example, mean means average, or mean can also be taken as one who is self-centered. So this way we have two different meaning of a particular word. Now, if we are looking for this particular sign, which is we are seeing as meaning of this word, when we go for this, we can again find the term mean. So we will be moving about in the circular motion, and we won't be getting a single fixed meaning to it. Apart from this, we also see that how Derrida dismantles the traditional belief that language functions as a mirror to the objective reality. He talks of the reality and he says that earlier it was believed that there is language which is quite powerful in order to reflect the reality. But when we are questioning sign, when we are questioning language system, then Derrida is in a position to question that the language can function as a mirror or as an indicator that can reveal, that can talk of the objective reality. Signs are inherently unreliable and there is always possibility of misleading. He argues that traditional theories overlook the fluid, unstable nature of meanings produced by language. According to them, or according to the traditional notion, it was believed that meaning is fixed and therefore it is the transparent medium of reflecting the objective reality. But now, according to Derrida, language does not simply represent an objective reality, but is instead a dynamic system of sign. This notion highlights the idea that language does not reflect an objective reality, rather, the role of social and cultural factors also plays significantly in shaping the meaning. For example, about bold, I have talked just now. So, the meaning of bold appearance is based upon the socio-cultural background. So when we talk of the bold appearance, naturally it is going to be different in the different culture. So this way it is not going to reflect the objective reality because it is changeable. It is something that talks differently in different culture. So, this way, we come up with the idea, we have a notion that meaning is contextual, it is not fixed, it is based on differences, it is, since it is based on differences, then a particular sign is not going to indicate or reflect a particular meaning because meaning is not in it, rather meaning or sign is just indicating towards another sign. Sign is indicating towards another sign, which is again slippery. It is also based on the neighboring uh, signs in the organizational chain, and therefore it is again into question. It is again something that is not fixed, and this way we are going to say that meaning is based on differences, meaning is based upon the elements in the organizational chain, meaning is based upon context, time, space, and hence meaning is something that goes with endless play, and we cannot say that there is a language as a stable system. Rather, Derrida questions the stability of language system, and according to him language system is fluid, it is based upon the instability, and there is nothing like stable, rather language is unstable and it is a fluid system. Thank you.